What is the most outdated technology still used today? I work in healthcare. Fax machines. The healthcare field is the only thing keeping fax machines alive. Same with pagers. Public schools as well. Source: it admin for a school district. 1. Fax machines. 2. Traffic light controllers. In today's world we should have smart traffic lights that promote better flow of traffic, or at least don't make you sit at a red light for 5 minutes at 2 AM when there are no other vehicles on the road. Only argument I've heard is that the older systems are tried and true, reliable, etc. Well, as a police officer with lots of experience directing traffic, when those old reliable systems fail, no, they are not reliable. This deserves more likes. We seriously have cars that can keep you from running off of the road at 80 miles per hour, but we can't manage to make a light shorter at midnight when there isn't any traffic. To add on, I also love it when I'm approaching an intersection with no cars at it, just to have the light change, just as I'm too far away to justify running it to a cop. WH lot might be hiding just out of view of the Lee. GHT. Happened to me all of the time on my drives late at night in rural SC, or if I'm waiting, but my car is still moving slowly and the cross traffic light changes red, but then goes back to green, because the stupid system thinks I've gone somewhere, even though I'm still on the sensor. I've worked on many a documentary that uses VHS Betamax, film, Laserdisc, audio tapes, etc. Something just never get transferred. I once went to a state park that had an introduction video from 1978. I believe it was on reel to reel, if not reel to reel. It was definitely some form of analog tape. We used to have those old whirring clickety clackety film projectors in school, where at the end, if the teacher didn't stop it in time, the film would run off the reel and flap about wildly. Even after the schools had VHS players, the film projectors were still around for years. The New York City subway system. It is one of the oldest train system around, but it has never been updated or replaced for better technology. They keep updating train car designs, but the rails and signal systems are fucking trash. There is no reason for us to be stopped in the middle of a tunnel for 15 minutes because of signal problems or because there's traffic. The MTA's excuse for not replacing the entire system is because it's a staple of New York City and is considered a historical legacy, like Fudgio MTA! I would like to not get fired from my job because of you! I would like to not have to leave my house 3 hours early to avoid being late for work and appointments because of your trash system. I was just reading a really great article about the history of mass transit in America and why it keeps getting shittier instead of better, unlike practically everywhere else. 2 things that stuck out. One was that most cities in America used to have more mass transit than they do now. Not less, like I would have guessed. New York City subway's peak usage was a long time ago, 1970s. If I remember right. The thing I remember was that, for whatever reason, virtually every transit company in America has repeated the same mistake when circumstances change to reduce usage, like people moving to suburbs. They have cut services to try and stop losing money. By cut services, I mean like running routes less frequently, and of course, when you do that, it becomes less convenient, so demand drops and usage goes down more. So it just becomes this vicious cycle where they just bleed money until they die. It looks incredibly stupid in hindsight. A lot of militaries have very old airframes with no retirement in sight. See B-52 and 295, F-5s and MiG-21s, and a whole lot more. Also, most 4th generation jets were designed in the 70s. Think F-15, Mirage 2000, MiG-29, etc. And while modernized, they are still Cold War era frames. The reasons those planes don't get retired is simple: they aren't ineffective against the enemy they face. A few rebel groups can't harm them, so why not keep them flying? I guarantee if America went to war with, say, China, those machines, or the few that survived the first year, would be retired. Just look at the tank in WW2. Any pre-war tank was made obsolete within a year or 2 of the start of the war. Even tanks that only entered service slightly before the war. I think the next time 2 large world forces go to war, claims won't really be a factor. It won't last long. And there won't be much life left on the planet when the smoke clears. I just moved to Japan and I have a bank book now? Question mark? Question mark? No credit or debit card. No app. A bank book that I need to keep updated at all times. So far for my expectations of Japan being technologically advanced. In it, VGA connectors. In the day and age of 4K and HDR. Several things still come with it. 506 is rapidly going away though. No complaints from me. The Sooner DisplayPort is the only video connector can't come too soon. Half of the government is running on Windows XP, if not 95 over 98. At my job we've got a computer running Windows NT controlling our electron microscope. I'm dreading what will happen if/when that machine dies, because I don't think we can get the software to run the STEM off of a newer computer. Coal for electricity. The fact we haven't replaced coal with nuclear energy is a crime against humanity. Quite literally, I blame nuclear proponents. Rather than telling people that modern plants can't do what Chernobyl and Fukushima did, they usually just try to pass those off as not that bad. School computers. They be packing an x86 and like 256 MB of RAM lol. The holy trinity of Suga school computers 256 MB, Pentium CPU, and the obviously pirated Windows. I still have to use a fax machine at work. It irritates me, right? I had to apply for a contractor license last year and they said I had to fax it to them. They won't even take it by mail. Had to go to the post office to have it faxed over. Paid $0.75 for that crap. Lol, people here thinking about stuff which is all relatively modern and a lot isn't even what I'd call outdated. Just look to developing countries and you'll see people with extremely old tech like non-electronic weight scales for weight outproduce all those kerosene blowtorches which need to be pumped to work. Heck, I'll bet some factories have some 50 plus or 100 plus year old specialized equipment to produce something like candy, and does the job so well there's no point in buying something new. I keep a modern computer controlled factory running with a lathe made in 1938 and a mill made in 1949. When they were new they cost as much as my house. Lie detectors are still used, but it is incredibly easy to beat them. You just have to chill, and you will be fine. I don't think those things were ever in date. When I was in the military in the 2010s we used equipment that hasn't changed since WW2 daily. AM radio. FM radio is so much more clear. AM is so distorted, so aside from the signal carrying father IDKY AM stations even exist anymore. It always baffled me that there was no complete transition to FM, but both bands were kept. AM is used for aircraft communications because if you have two people transmitting at the same time you can hear them both, even if one signal is much weaker. In broadcasting you use AM because it requires so much less bandwidth than FM. This means you get lower audio quality, but that's the trade-off you make when you use the low frequencies, typically around 1 MHz, that AM broadcast stations work on. At that frequency you can transmit around the world with a few hundred watts using a few hundred meters of wire at telephone pole height as an aerial. The same power level on FM into an aerial on the top of a 100-meter tower will get you maybe 30 or 40 miles. CCTV footage. How in the hell is that 2MP looking stuff going to pretend it's the best we have when a roller coaster can snap a clear image of you at like 80 miles per hour? If you want really outdated technology, craft leather workers, and honestly a lot of craftspeople, are using basically the exact same tools they were in the BCE. How we make the tools is slightly different, but a leather awl is a fucking leather awl, and has been for around 3,000 years. Landline phones, known as POTS or PSTN phones. Lots of places still use them, even though we can dial people for free over WhatsApp, inclusive minutes on mobiles etc. Personally I haven't had a landline for 10 years, but so many other people do. I live in the mountains with no cell service and spotty internet. I have a landline that sucks, because you never know when one or the other will go out. I use a computer system at work that is DOS based, and I have to remember commands and use characters like the caret. I hear the copyright is from 1974 or something. films raise. The dentist I work for uses them still, and it's really annoying tbh. It's cool to see, but it's basically guessing when using film. Too much work when I could use a sensor hooked up to the computer, and if I fudge it then retake it in less than 30 seconds. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.